Year was definitely a time capsule of the pandemic and sort of tracking just how it affected me both emotionally and artistically. The first installment was one of the first things I made during the pandemic, and also one of the first films I had made ever. Probably like the second or third or something like that. And so it was not only tracking like that emotional journey, but also sort of how I got into filmmaking and the different methods I applied each time. And each installation was kind of me just testing new ideas and new ways of making things. Um, I would definitely say that the pandemic affected my creativity in a way that felt bad at first, but ended up being very necessary. When I started this trilogy, I was in college specifically to do digital animation, and then when the pandemic made everything digital, including social life and all the rest of the aspects of school, I was like, I cannot be on the computer anymore. And so I started dabbling in more experimental and tangible media. And then, of course, by the third installment, we had kind of left, or were starting to leave the pandemic, and that was when I felt okay to sort of bring back in some of the digital elements and try to put them together in a way that felt whole. My use of multimedia tends to be from a place of impatience, which is ironic because a lot of it is very time consuming and labor intensive. But a lot of times, if I'm working in a digital format and I'm getting frustrated with how much I'm able to convey with it, then sometimes the best way for me to continue that idea is just to switch. Or sometimes my ability in a certain one form of media or another is not to the level that I want it to be to get the idea that I'm trying to get out. And so rather than, there's two routes you can go with that. You can either sit down and practice, which is sometimes the way I like to go, or if I just need to get that idea out, sometimes it's like, okay, what else can I use to supplement this idea, and just make a finished thing. And so I don't think I struggle so much with knowing when something's finished. I think when I'm satisfied with it, I'm satisfied with it. And oftentimes there's a deadline too, so that's a helpful thing for me. I know not everyone works like that, but I think so. The first film in this trilogy was a 48-hour film, which was just like a sort of self-imposed deadline. The second one was sort of the product of several classes I was taking, so there was just sort of a built-in school deadline. And the third one, I wanted to have it finished for a screening that I was going to be showing the trilogy in. I definitely take inspiration from both external media and just internal experiences, and I think that's a healthy way for a creative to exist. I think, in some ways there's only so much that your own experiences can give you, and you need both input from others and output. If you want your work at least to relate to other people. I think if you want to just make work for yourself and it's all internal and you're not drawing inspiration from anything else, that's great, but I don't know if that will resonate, which is maybe not everyone's goal, but I find it very fulfilling when people resonate with my work, and it's certainly drawn from what I've found meaningful in other people's work. So it's a bit of both, yeah. I don't think I find any step in my process, even though I'm sort of oftentimes doing all the, fulfilling all the roles in my films, it's not intimidating since it's me doing all of it, and I'm the one, like, if it's bad to me, and then I can just delete it. But yeah, I think when working with other people, that's maybe that role shifts, but that's also a process I enjoy a lot. And yeah, I don't really know. I don't really know how else to answer that. But as far as music and the visual aspect of my work, it kind of depends which comes first. And usually it's when I set out to make something that involves both visuals and music, it's just whatever comes first, and I run with that. So I want to say with the first third of this particular trilogy, I definitely was like, I want to make an animated film, and then let me write some music to accompany it. And then it was sort of the opposite with the second one, where I was like, okay, I want to build something. I know there's going to be a visual aspect, but it's going to be around music. So I was writing a lot of that music first and thinking a lot about the melodies and about the notes and being much more particular with what it all meant, and also trying to relate it back to the first film. And then the third one was sort of this combined process of, okay, I have visual stuff that I'm stealing back from both of these things, and I have musical stuff. So I think I was doing them kind of simultaneously with that one. But yeah, in general, it's whatever comes first, and whatever comes first in the most complete form is the thing that I'll start with and just build off of. And I really appreciate when people call out the sort of the DIY and the tangibility of my work and how that enhances the emotional narrative, I guess. And like I've said, this was a project that I was doing during the pandemic when I was just tired of being on the internet all the time and being on a computer all the time. And so it was kind of just a personal coping mechanism of I really need to make something out of paper mache right now. But I think that comes through, and I think people are increasingly interested in these sort of nostalgic things. And I think when you think back on like memories of childhood, you're thinking of your senses, and if you're looking at something that you can imagine how it feels to touch or to hear, or I think it's a helpful guide for processing emotions in a piece of art. And so yeah, I would define my style, especially visually, as sort of scattered, but I often say that the common denominator in all my work is just me and my emotions, and so I don't really set out to try to make it a cohesive style, but it all makes sense together because I made it and I was doing my best to be honest about it and using feeling as the through line, if that makes sense. What I really like about multimedia and animation is that you can just start doing it. I love film, I love live action, but that is something that requires usually at the very least 2 people, but probably more like 10, 50, 100, it depends on what you're trying to do. And I love collaborating, but even in a collaborative setting, you need an idea first. And with multimedia and animation, it's very easy to sort of run with it and throw a lot of things at the wall. And I also I like how it looks. I love it. And like I've said, in this sort of digital fast realm we live in now, where it's just like pushing out pictures all the time, videos all the time, everybody is just filling their camera rolls with stuff. I think it's meaningful to work in a medium that is time and labor intensive, and with animation specifically, you're trying to capture spontaneity and emotion and these very fast-moving, immediate things, but to try to capture those things in a process that takes a very long time is sort of meditative and interesting to me. The biggest advice I can give to anyone who wants to make film or make multimedia art or any type of art is to make it. Just make it, and as much as you can, as fast as you can, make it badly. That is, yes, read the books, draw your inspiration, do your research, but it's so easy to get stuck in the like, oh, what camera should I buy? What should I? And then the ideas will never get out, and you need to practice expressing your ideas, and don't worry about holding on to your best, most important idea, because others will come, and it's more important to just build the muscle of creating and translating things from your head into a format that is accessible to other people. I made this trilogy largely, actually entirely on like my phone and my laptop and whatever random stuff I had in my apartment. So it's just go and do as much and as fast as you can, and you have to trust yourself a little bit that things will improve and you'll make something interesting.